All right, welcome back to the Wake Coaching Podcast.
Yes.
I'm Jeff. This is Allie. I totally forgot to to tell who we were last time, so I hope you're back. They have no idea. They're like, "Who are these guest hosts?" They look the same, but I don't think they're the same. It looks like Allie, and that looks like Jeff. But hey, welcome back. So glad you're here. Last episode, we talked about the idea of crucial conversations. And so one of the things that I thought about doing was like, rather than just talking about principles and how to do it, let's actually talk about an example of when we walk through a critical conversation or a crucial conversation. And so I know, Allie, you and we've talked about this a lot. We've shared this story multiple times because there's crucial conversations that you have that like, ultimately you want them to be a win-win. It's a win for you. It's a win for that person. It's a win for the organization, right? And that's the hope. That's the goal. That's the way you should approach every crucial conversation. What is the win-win-win here? Okay. How does everyone win? But there's sometimes that it doesn't always go that way because, I mean, we're humans. Anytime people are a part of something, they're going to screw something up. And so that's just the reality of humanity. But I thought, let's share a story. This is way back when you were with your family business and of a time where you had a crucial conversation with a team member and it went really well. I'm sure as you approached it, you had all the normal tension. You had all the normal anxiety. You had all the normal like, oh my gosh, how's this going to go? All the butterflies, all the things like, oh my God, do I have the conversation? I wish it would just work out, but it didn't. So you had to speak up. So tell us the story.
Well, so I was a pretty young manager, like new manager, hadn't, had a lot of direct reports under me previous to this. I was totally like, I had all the nerves. I avoided crucial conversations whenever possible, right? Like I was really just intimidated by like sitting down and having a big conversation with someone about, their performance. But the amazing thing is, we followed the EOS process. And one of the things that is a part of it is just having regular sit downs, weekly, same pages or one-on-ones with your direct reports. And this was such a critical aspect of this crucial conversation in me managing this person well, because so often when someone's not performing, there's an issue with them. We will avoid that topic as long as humanly possible until it is just so destructive or uncomfortable that we have to talk about it.
It's the elephant in the room at that point.
Yeah. And we let it like blow up and get a lot bigger than it needs to be, either emotionally or just the amount of a mess that it's created within the business. That's what not to do, right? And luckily I didn't do that because I was following the process. And so our process was to have weekly same pages. We had weekly metrics that we were looking at and talking about in these same pages. And so the crucial conversation was not just one conversation, but it happened over the course of weeks and months. I mean, we just had a lot of small conversations about the same thing, about the fact that she was not performing. And so she was a recruiter for our organization. That's significant just because her personality was really laid back. I loved her. I mean, we were friends. We hung out outside of work. Like, she was just a really kind, like soft spoken, caring person. And she had a great personality, but for recruiting specifically, she just wasn't like assertive and kind of aggressive enough. She was more concerned about quality of interactions with people versus like recruiting. There is a numbers game component to it, right? Like if you need to hire a certain amount of people, you have to have a certain amount of calls that you're doing, like callbacks, all the things. And she just wasn't motivated by the numbers. And so the performance overall wasn't there. And I pointed it out every single week, like, hey, we're behind, we're in the red, we're off track on these things. We continued talking about them. And then kind of the bigger crucial conversation was us sitting down for our quarterly conversation. And as a part of that, we talk about, does the person get the role? Are they naturally wired to do it well? Do they want it? And do they have the capacity for it? I had to tell her that no, I didn't believe she got it because she wasn't independently or naturally doing the right things to get the right outcomes. She had to really be like micromanaged all the way along. And so I was very honest with her and just had to have this conversation of like, no, I don't actually think you're naturally wired to do this job. I think there's parts of it you love, but there's some really critical parts of it that you don't like to do. And that's what's really holding you up from being able to perform well.
Okay, so we're years out from that story, from that moment.
Yeah.
Right now, you're sharing it with a lot of what seems like just ease, confidence, because we know the outcome of the story.
Yeah.
But in that moment, how did you feel? How did she respond? What was like? Walk us through that a little bit.
I don't want to take too much credit because I was running the play. In the quarterly conversations, one of the things that we do is when we talk about, hey, do you get it? Do you feel like you're naturally wired to do this job? Like you have,
you're asking questions.
You're asking them that question before I, as their manager, am answering it for them. It's the opportunity for them to go like, I don't know if I do get it. And she admitted that because we had so many conversations on a weekly basis of her being off track, where she was painfully aware she wasn't performing. And so when I'm asking her the question, like, do you feel like you got it? She was aware enough because of all the prior conversations where she was like, I don't know that I do. And so that takes a lot of the work out of it for you as the manager.
Well, I can imagine even the emotion out of it, because if it's something that you guys have been talking about for so long, it wasn't like something just like she wasn't blindsided by it.
Yep.
Which mattered in a huge way.
Yes, absolutely. So we were able to have this conversation, and another important aspect of having these conversations beyond just following, the play is like developing a good rapport and a fair amount of trust between the two of you, right? She trusted that I cared for her, that I cared about her. We had talked about her career aspirations. We had talked about, her goals in life, all the things. I knew her very well. And so we were quickly able to start talking about like, okay, if this isn't the right role for you, what might be the better fit for you? And it wasn't within the organization, but we began working together and strategizing for her, like, what's the right next step in her career? Having just that trust, really caring for the person in front of you, knowing them, like being able to connect their goals and really like see for them as a person, what is best for them. So when you talked in the beginning, like, we want to approach these conversations like, hopefully there's a win-win-win in here. And in this case, there wasn't, but there was. Yeah. Right? Because we had a wrong fit for our recruiter that was impacting the organization in a really big way. She knew she wasn't performing. She didn't feel successful. And that really got to her. She cared a lot about doing her job well. It was a breakup of sorts, but like it was a win-win-win.
No, well, here's a couple of takeaways. I think about like, first of all, you kept saying, I just ran the process. I just ran the play. I don't want to take too much credit. Well, first of all, you had the conversation. Like you can have a play, but you still have to run the play. So you ran the play, right? And so you had the process in place that was for you as a manager to run. And so I think that's huge. And I think, this is something we talk about in our coaching often, where there's a lack of process, things feel personal. You're in the red here. You're in the red here. Well, clearly you had some sort of like KPIs, scorecards, something that she has to achieve. Well, that was in place. That was a process. Like, hey, your goals are very clear. If you don't achieve these, it's either red, yellow, green. Green, awesome. Yellow, what's going on here? Red, like, whoa, we have a serious problem here. And so you clearly had a process in place, which is huge. And that's probably why it didn't feel so personal. That's why it felt like you were friends outside of, you hung out, you cared for her. She she cared for the company, like because you had that process. And I think sometimes as leaders, we don't want to lead through process too often as much as like, I just want to be personal. I want it to be personal. I want them to know we're friends. And like, it's great that the person knows that you're friends to a degree, but it's tough when you have to have a hard conversation with your friend and it feels more personal than process oriented.
Yeah. You have to do both equally. You marry the two. You marry caring for the person and being personal impersonable, all the things like within the process.
Mm-hmm. Because the process can help triangulate. It's not you versus them or like you're coming after their performance, but you're like, hey, according to this process that like, here's your KPIs, here's the scorecard, here's the get it, want it capacity. It seems like, I don't really know if you get it. Do you think based upon what you're saying, you don't think you get it? Okay. So there's a clear process that opens up conversation and communication. So it doesn't just feel like it's me versus you and it's my opinion versus your performance.
Yeah.
And so you have this process, like to your credit, the organization you were a part of, and in EOS, you ran that play, you ran that process. And honestly, I think the end of the conversation goes, like, didn't she call you and thank you? Like there was tears.
No, so I did her exit interview. It was on her last day of an employment
interview. So that's like, it could be like, wow, that was a loss. But what you just said was like, actually, that was a huge win because she was the wrong person in the wrong seat in the organization.
Yeah. So we set a time that she would be wrapping up her role. We strategized on what was next for her. She line that up while she was still with us. And so, on her last day, I did her exit interview and she cried and thanked me for helping her find what was really the right fit in like her next step for her. And she was just in such a good place. Like she was so excited for what was next.
Like these are tears of joy.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was not an isolated incident, I will say, because like, yes, we tell that story often, but that was not an isolated incident. My mom was actually our HR director for many years within the family business. And she had this reputation for people crying, like good tears, hugging her when, she went in to either fire them or give a really stern, like, warning.
Yeah.
This really was the heart of how we treated people, but it was also a product of the process that we followed.
Hopefully, as you're listening today, maybe you're thinking back to times that you've had crucial conversations with employees or team members and it didn't go so well. I know I am. I thought of times where I've fired people and it was super painful and it was really just gross because they didn't know it was coming. Yeah. I didn't have a clear process. It was intensely personal and it was just like, it was so horrible. And then you hear this, you're like, what? There's a process out there? Are you serious? Like, tell me more about that. Like that is something, if you're interested, Wake Coaching, that's what we do. We literally help you walk through conversations like that. We can give you processes that help really lead your business, run your business, help you run much more efficiently, much more process oriented over personally oriented.
And that's not to say that it's not a people first approach.
For sure.
Because it is. But what he's saying is it's through a clear process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so go back to our last podcast. We gave some keys of how to have the conversation and then have the conversation. And if you have a clear process, if the person knows what's expected of them, they have the KPIs, there's a process in place, that's awesome. Then speak to that. If you don't have a process, then you need to reach out to us and Ali, A-L-I, at wakecoaching.com. Email her, Ali at wakecoaching.com, and ask us questions about what kind of process you're talking about. That's something we could totally help with.
Yeah.
And we could both share stories of wins and a few losses in the process. But I encourage you, have the conversation. It's so incredibly important. So, hey, Wake Coaching Podcast, thank you for listening today. I encourage you, follow, share, subscribe to our channel, drop some notes in there, give us a like if you would, and share it with some friends. Once again, Jeff, Ali.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.